Are we ready for another episode of Kinda Judging People, but not really judging people, but just commenting on certain situations that they have asked for advice on? Yay! Hey Spuds, it's Jamie, welcome back to another video if that's on the channel, I don't know, but welcome either way, and today we are going through the subreddit, I can say the word subreddit, the subreddit of AITA, or am I the butthole? I will say butthole for the first certain amount of this video so that YouTube doesn't get mad at me. I specifically like looking at LGBTQ plus related AITA stories, but if you are interested in some more general stuff, I would definitely advise going and checking out Shaba's channel. I've left the link down in the description box below because we also do a podcast. This is a podcast together that is all about the am I the drama AITA type vibe, which is a lot more general. But today we're looking at specifically LGBTQ plus am I the asshole, I think I can say it now, submissions. Are you ready? Am I the asshole for not giving my daughter a gift from her lesbian girlfriend? I have questions already. Why? Why was this gift withheld? I love that from her lesbian girlfriend. Could we just not have had my daughter a gift from her girlfriend? That does seem bizarre. Like if you were handed something to give on to somebody and then you deliberately withhold that. I'm curious as to the reasons why. There are a couple, very small number that could be excusable. But really my head is going, yes, you are. But I will not make a full judgment on just the title. Let's read on. Yay. I, 47-year-old man, am an airline pilot and a retired USAF ITCOL. I don't know what that means, but yes, retired from that. And I have a 15-year-old daughter named Noah. Noah is in love with her classmate Laura, also 15. And of course, I've got no problems with the LGBTQ plus community, and I wish we could all just get along. But at their young age, I just don't feel like their love is legitimate. I personally tend to find that sentences that are like, I'm not homophobic, I accept everybody, I don't have a problem with the LGBTQ plus community, but
I wish we could all just get along.
For me, I'm not saying that it's where it's coming from in this specific situation, just legit 99% of the time I've heard it. It's because the person saying it is cis and straight and thinks that the LGBTQ plus community causes issues. And it's like,
why can't we just all get along, you know? Let me discriminate against you, just don't get upset about it.
That's very much the vibe. Not saying that's what's going on here, but it gives me that like ick. So yay. And then the whole like, I don't feel like their love is legitimate. I'm sorry, like 15. I know people within my family network who've been with their partners since they were 15 and they're now in their 20s and they're really strong couples. I have been with my wife since we were 17. We're now married and, well, I'm 30, she's still 29. How rude. I get it, but also like, I don't know why there needs to be legitimate love even for it to be a legitimate relationship. 15-year-olds date. It's very common. You don't have to date when you're 15. You're not too old to not have dated. You get what I'm saying? You're not like delayed. It's not too late if you have not begun dating at 15. It's fine. But 15-year-olds date. It doesn't need to be legitimate love to be something that they're allowed to do. So I'm not sure where that comment is coming from. It's making me uncomfortable on two levels. I don't know if I'm making sense. Anyway, they're children and they're just figuring things out. I think their love is more of a passing thing, like a phase. Oh, there it is. I felt like this was building up into a...
Oh, the whole gay thing? Yeah, that's a phase. She's not really in love with this lesbian girlfriend.
Maybe that's why in the title it says, my daughter a gift from her lesbian girlfriend. To clarify, the
girlfriend is a lesbian. My daughter is not. My daughter's just going through a phase that she's too young to know about.
Very much the vibes. If that's not what's meant, it's not been explained very well. Or maybe I'm just interpreting it badly. Let me know. Anyway, back in March this year, I was giving Laura a ride somewhere. Her father trusts me very much with her safety, which I appreciate. And before she got out of the car, she reached into her bag and she pulled out a very beautiful bookmark. She told me that it was for Noah. I thanked her for it and I let her know that I'll give it to Noah when I get home. But when I went home, I didn't really know what to do with it. I just set it aside and eventually I forgot about it. How could you not know what to do with it? You give it to your daughter. You were giving your daughter's girlfriend a lift and she was like, oh, hey, do you mind giving this thing to your daughter, my girlfriend, that is for her, please, because I'm not seeing her right in this moment and you are her father, so I assume you are going back to see her. And then you're like, I don't know what to do with this bookmark. What do I do? You give it to your daughter, dude. Ugh. A few weeks later, my wife, 46, found the bookmark and she thought it looked wonderful. She asked me where it came from and I told her that it was a gift Why is gift in quotes? Just like love gift to Noah from her girlfriend, except I wasn't really sure if it was something worth passing along to our daughter. Oh, this guy's just coming across as all kinds of uncomfortable about the fact that his daughter has a girlfriend and he doesn't want to say that. So it's like all of these other things that really clearly indicate there's some level of discomfort somewhere here. Like, I'm sure that if that was her boyfriend, you'd have been like, here is this scrap piece of paper that Richard wrote hi on and wanted me to pass on to you. My wife got kind of confused and she asked me why I didn't give it to our daughter immediately. So I just told her about my true feelings about Noah's relationship and I let her know that I don't really think of it as anything genuine. Ugh. When I said this, my wife was horrified. Sure, yes, I would be too. And she just silently walked away. Later on, she gave Noah the bookmark, but she also told her that I have been withholding the gift from her. Noah was heartbroken and she cried about this whole experience. Of course she did. Of course she did. Poor child is in a relationship, but potentially her first relationship. And I feel like the dad's probably to her face giving out a lot of signals of acceptance, like being trusted by the girlfriend's family to drive her around independently of his own daughter. Clearly are allowed to see each other. Maybe this came as a huge shock to the daughter that her dad actually isn't accepting, but he's not being an outright asshole about it. He's just doing little things that really show the discomfort. I didn't intend to make my daughter cry. Am I the bad guy here? There is an edit, but just based on that original content, yes, you are the bad guy here. There was absolutely no necessity to withhold it. It's not your position to say if love is real or not, or if a relationship is genuine or not, or if somebody is genuinely LGBTQ plus or not. That is not your place. Stay in your lane, dude. That's your daughter with a girlfriend. You are seemingly accepting of it to an extent. The mum is seemingly accepting. Well, it does seem to definitely be accepting because she was horrified at your response. I don't really understand why there's such a big issue, and I can't help but feel like there wouldn't be that big of an issue if the daughter had a 15-year-old boyfriend. But there is an edit. Edited. Just so everyone can see here, a commenter asked, when you say their love is a passing phase and they're figuring stuff out, do you mean you think your daughter might be too young to know she's a lesbian? That's a very good question. Yes. Yes, I do believe my daughter is too young to know that she's a lesbian. Were you too young to know at 15 your sexual orientation? I would assume, given his feelings towards LGBTQ plus relationships, or this LGBTQ plus relationship, and the fact that he's married to a woman, this guy's probably straight. You didn't know you were straight at 15? You were just like sexual orientationless. You had no idea. You could have ended up with anybody. I mean, that's true for some people, but 15 isn't too young to know your sexual orientation. Ugh. Okay, if she were 20 plus or something like that, then I would have no doubts about her sexuality, but right now she's just a little kid. 15-year-old isn't a little kid. No, they're still a minor, they're not an adult, but they're not a little kid. They are not a little child. They are a teen. They are not a little child. Accept it that your child is growing up. Also, I love it when cis straight people arbitrarily pull numbers out of their butt and they're like, I accept it at this age. I heard all the same stuff, not towards me and my identity, but about my relationship. It's like, last 5 years and then we'll see. And it's like, why does that matter? You're only saying that because you don't approve of LGBTQ plusness. That's the problem. I bet you this guy would not turn around and say, yes, I do believe that my daughter is too young to know that she's straight. I just don't see that as a possibility.
Or she needs to be 20 plus something before she knows she's straight.
That's not a thing that people say. It all ties back to this inherent belief from some people who are either a little bit closed-minded and misunderstanding and ignorant to like just full out bigots. It's a big spectrum that being LGBTQ plus and LGBTQ plus topics and people in the community are inherently age inappropriate for people who are like under 18. And you can't learn about being LGBTQ plus, you can't be LGBTQ plus until you are at least an adult. And that's really bizarre, and they don't give that same energy or that same opinion towards straightness or cis straightness, because we hear a lot about it with trans people as well being told they're too young to know. Second edit to clear things up. Some of you may be wondering why I didn't just give the bookmark to Noah and why her sexuality is relevant at all. And I need to say that Laura is a very polite, intelligent, bright girl, but at that time I considered her to be sort of a bad influence on my daughter. It's because she's a lesbian, isn't it? And I didn't know if I wanted to pass along a gift that came from a bad influence. It's now been months since the bookmark incident and I'm still learning to deal with my prejudices and I want to be more open, but I'm just asking for a little patience. I appreciate that. I do, but there needs to be a recognition that people can know if they're whatever sexual orientation or gender identity at 15, and they can know younger than 15. 15 is not being a little child anymore. That is a teenager, and there's no reason given for a bad influence. It's like the only information we're given as readers is that Laura is a lesbian and is the girl that OP's daughter is in a relationship with, and here, polite, intelligent, bright. But at that time I considered her to be sort of a bad influence for my daughter, and I can only imagine that the bad influence is a sexual orientation. He probably believed his daughter was straight before she met Laura. I'm just going to throw it out there. That's what comes across with the information we've been given. Patience, I appreciate he's trying to be more open. I think that's a really nice thing to hear, because I think oftentimes a lot of parents that have this type of opinion, they're very much stuck in it and they stay firm on the, no, I don't accept this right now and I never will, blah, blah, blah. So at least he's trying, but there's still a lot in here that indicates a huge amount of unlearning that needs to happen, including like the, if she were 20 plus or something, like, well, she's 19 and she had a girlfriend. No, she's still too young to know she's a lesbian. Specifically 20 and above. Okay, right, are we ready for some comments? I don't know if I've read comments in my own videos on this subreddit before, but I have seen comments asking me to do this, and I know it's something Shaba does, and we do on the podcast together. So, here we are. You're the arsehole. Dude, of course you're the bad guy here. You were trusted with a present that you withheld because you were uncomfortable with our relationship. Ask yourself, if Laura was a boy, would you have passed on the bookmark? I'm guessing yes. Take a cold hard look at your intentions because they sound profoundly homophobic. So what if this relationship isn't forever? Very few teenage relationships, straight, gay, or anything else, do. Doesn't mean they aren't important. Exactly, thank you. Even if it isn't a forever relationship, even if they're not in love, why is it not legitimate? Are you saying that people should only be in relationships when they fully know that they're in love and it's going to last forever? Because like nobody ever knows that. It's okay to have relationships that don't work out. It's all part of learning and growing and being a human. And I feel like this guy maybe has very, very high expectations on gay relationships, particularly for his daughter. It's like,
Well, if you're going to be in a gay relationship, if you're going to be in a same-gender relationship, then it has to be serious and it's got to be love and it's got to last forever, because otherwise,
I mean, if his daughter's bisexual, I worry this guy's going to end up with whiplash. And whenever she's with a guy, be like,
oh, my daughter is straight, phew.
and then when she's with a woman, be like,
Oh, my daughter is a lesbian.
and just completely not understand bisexuality. I hope he did ask himself what he would have done if the daughter's partner was a boy. You're the asshole and your wife was rightfully horrified. I'm horrified. It's a gift. Did you consider Laura's feelings when Noah didn't even say thank you? Oh yeah, I didn't think of that. It's a very good point. They could have caused tension between them. It's not your place to decide what is valid or not as far as your daughter's feelings. And just because she's a lesbian, when you were 15, your parents didn't question you being straight. How dare you not accept your daughter for being a lesbian now? It's who she is. When your daughter is hungry at dinner time, do you question that because a 15-year-old can't feel hunger and only when she's 20 years old will she be able to judge that feeling? You're the asshole to the max. I see where they're going with like the hungry thing. It is very much one of those things that's quite specific. There are obviously other things as well that parents like wrongfully deem their child too young to be aware of or to know about themselves, but being LGBT plus is such a huge one. It is more like, you know, if your daughter were straight, would you question that a 15-year-old could be straight? You wouldn't. You would just accept that she were because that's what you accept in your head. So it's just about relearning what is acceptable and fully embracing the fact that there's nothing wrong with being LGBTQ+, and there's nothing age inappropriate about being LGBTQ+, and there's never too young an age to know your sexual orientation, whether that's straight, gay, or otherwise. Same goes for gender identity. And final comment on this one, you're the arsehole. I knew I was bisexual when I was 15 and that hasn't changed. Listen to your daughter when she tells you who she is, because even if years later she does come to the conclusion that she's not a lesbian, she will remember the fact that you didn't support her when she was in the middle of figuring herself out. And if it turns out she is lesbian, which is likely, she will sure as hell remember you not believing her. Yeah, it will stick with people. Like I've had a journey with my sexuality, okay? I am a 30-year-old trans man. I am bisexual. I know that, but like I went on a bit of a journey with it throughout my transition and figuring my gender out and just kind of all of that stuff was a jumble, and I was like, do I want to be you or be with you? I'm not sure. And that's what caused some confusion for a while for me, but it's all good. But I knew, at the very least, I knew I wasn't straight from when I was 14. And then looking back, I can definitely see signs and ways that I thought and things that I probably said as well that were like, well, that's not straight, is it? And like my earliest memory of having feelings that I didn't fit in with the gender everybody told me I was 4. Kids know a lot more about themselves than you think. Not all kids, but like, it's like not all adults know themselves fully. It's like everybody figures different things out in different time frames, and that's okay. And we need to stop belittling people's knowledge of themselves and people's feelings just because they're under 18. So that's it for the first one. What did we think? Please go leave your comments down below about it. I think that's definitely a you're the arsehole. I appreciate that he says he's open to learn, but how open he is, I'm not sure. And I hope that he comes to a place and maybe having a wife who's clearly accepting will help him come to a place of like, no, the right thing to do is to be accepting of my daughter's sexuality and not belittle her identity or her relationship because of her sexual orientation or her age. Am I the arsehole for telling my husband he didn't raise our gay son? I am intrigued and I am struggling to draw any kind of conclusion from this. I'm curious. So, okay, I, 48, never understood the gay community. Lovely. What a lovely sentence to begin with. And to be honest, I haven't really cared much about it. I found it distasteful and sinful. Distasteful and sinful. Interesting. Let's read on. Since my son, 23, has come out to me as gay when he was a teenager, I've tried to understand it more. Okay, that's a better approach. You see a lot when people who are homophobic, their kids come out and it's an instant rejection and, forever goodbye, and it's horrendous and they never ever change their mindset. So at least OP is wanting to understand more and trying. We talked about how he felt when he started feeling it and if he's interested in anyone specific, and I assured him that this changes nothing between us. Okay. It's really interesting. I feel very turned around in this first paragraph. I've had very many feelings because initially OP's like, I haven't cared about the gay community. I found it distasteful and sinful. But when my son came out, I said it changes nothing between us. So clearly there must be a level of openness there that maybe even OP wasn't aware of. Anyway, my husband, 47, was always absent in his life due to his job. He was with us on hangouts and weekends and still cared for him, but missed all the important times. However, when faced with this important time, he was much more aggressive. He told me it's just hormones and he will get over it, and he doesn't want a queer in his house, so to get that nonsense out of your head. Oh my God. Okay, that's not a very nice response, is it? My son cried a lot, as would I can see why, and I've tried to talk to my husband, but he either walks away and ignores me or turns it into a full-blown argument with no winning. My son moved out as soon as he could, and while it hurt, I understood him. It wasn't a good environment. Fast forward to now, Sana and I are still in contact while he's studying, and told me he even has a boyfriend and invited me to meet him. I said yes, and we settled on a small cafe they liked. I was preparing what to wear. My husband won't stop asking me what it's for. It was a really nice dress, so I don't blame him for getting suspicious. He sounds like an arsehole all round. And I told him I'm meeting up with our son. Okay, so she's not hiding the fact that she's seeing him. I'm assuming the son and the dad aren't in contact anymore. I mean, first and foremost, my thoughts are with the son. It must be horrible to have such an unaccepting father and a mum who has to come and meet you in a cafe to still have a relationship with you, and also potentially still isn't completely there herself, but absolutely sounds like she's trying her best. But that must be really tricky to still be in a relationship with somebody who so strongly rejects a child that you are making effort with and you don't want to reject. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, how dare she still be with somebody with such horrendous views, because you don't know the individual circumstances. People can get very trapped in relationships. So I'm going to save that judgment unless there's more information that comes out about that. But if I could get out, I wouldn't want to be with somebody with those kind of viewpoints. That would be end game of a relationship for me to find something like this out. But I don't know her individual circumstances and safety, so I don't want to comment too much. He made a comment on how proud I am of calling a queer our son, and I should be ashamed like him that we raised a... Okay, bad slur. I learned from my son that is not a good word to use on gay people, and I snapped. I yelled at him that he never raised a... She used it back, okay, and that I was the one always there for him. I was the only one at his graduation parties, at his school award ceremonies, at his swimming lessons and the parent-teacher conferences, etc. He argued back that it was not fair because he was busy working to accommodate our lifestyle and barely living himself. The argument got more and more flamed, and I decided to just wear something simple and go early to the cafe. My son hasn't arrived yet, and I'm still angry from the argument, so once I go back home, I just want to know, am I the arsehole? Oh, she wrote this from the cafe, waiting to meet her son and his boyfriend. Oh, bless. Okay, is she the arsehole? I wouldn't call her the arsehole. She's really trying with her son. She's admitted to having homophobic views in the past. I don't know how strong they are now, but she supports her son. She's there for him. She meets up with him and is comfortable and happy to meet his new boyfriend. What I would question is being with somebody who is so openly homophobic and so openly rejecting of the child you have together based on the child's sexual orientation. It feels like a position that someone wouldn't choose to put themselves in. So like my question is why, but she's not divulged that information. But like based on that original post, I'd say she's not the arsehole. She's trying. It just sounds like a horrible situation, primarily for the son and then for OP, that homophobes are just arseholes. Edit. Well, this blew up. Thank you for all your support and comments. I'd figured I'd leave a few answers to the questions I've seen most people ask. Why are you with someone who's that hateful to your son? Okay, right. I'm unemployed and don't know how to handle money well. My husband's always been the breadwinner and handles all the purchases in the house. My parents have cut me off when they learned I'm supporting my son as well. Oh, God. Wow. Okay, so this is generational homophobia and she's broken the cycle. We aren't talking now, but maybe with some time, he'll start to open up his mind a little. I mean, financial control, whether it's done in a deliberate, I'm going to financially control you way, or it's just that's how the cookie crumbled with your relationship, where one person does have the financial power because they are the one that works, and somebody's ended up being out of work for a long time and would potentially struggle getting back into work and is therefore feeling stuck in a relationship because they couldn't financially support themselves without their partner. It's a tricky situation to be in. Someone else asked, you do realize you're homophobic like him, right? I think that's a bit unfair. She definitely has a homophobic past and potentially still slight homophobic views now, but I would not say she's homophobic like him. She's not cutting their son off and being aggressive about his sexual orientation and refusing to see him because of that. She's making effort, she's trying, and I think that's all we can ask of people, because I do think when people are willing to open their minds and open their hearts and they want to be accepting and they want to learn more, they will get there. It can take longer for some compared to others to unlearn what they've been brought up with. Especially, she literally got cut off by her own parents for accepting her son. She really is trying, and I do think it's unfair to say that she's homophobic like the dad. I'm trying my best to get rid of this mindset, but after 36 years of being around other homophobic people, hearing how the Bible refers to it, etc., it still seeps in. It's nothing I'm proud of, but I'm still trying to work on it. And I honestly believe she will get there, because she really, really wants to. Like, she's really trying. If I see more questions, I'll add answers. Also, I've met my son's boyfriend. He's very cute and nice, and I think my son will have a great relationship with him. Final edit to add, my heart aches for all of your comments who resonate with my son. I know I'm just an internet stranger whom you have no reason to trust/confide in, but my DMs will always be open for anyone who needs it. Her heart, right? Like, if we take this on face value of what she's said, it really sounds like her heart is in the right place. She wants to do best by her son. She does not want to be homophobic. She does not want to discriminate against people. She is just unlearning a lot, and that can take a hot minute. So I don't think she's the arsehole. The husband's the arsehole. I'm glad that she's sticking by her son. I'm glad that she's doing her best, and I hope that she reaches the place that she wants to with how she views the world. But I think she'll get there. Comment, you're not the arsehole for telling your husband off, but the fact that you're still married to him knowing that he's a hateful bigot who would abandon his own child for being his authentic self makes me question your morals. Also, how could you not know that the F slur is a slur? I think there needs to be a little bit of consideration for personal circumstances in the context of things. She was made aware by her son that the F slur was a slur. If people have never been told that, and it's just been thrown around in front of them as a normal word to use, People genuinely don't realize it. You don't know what people's access to the internet is like. You don't know how much they're on social media, or what areas of social media they're on, or what kind of news they consume, or what kind of TV that they consume. They may not have come across this. It is completely possible, if their entire family network has homophobic values, that they would not be aware of the weight that word carries. She said after her son told her that it was a bad word to use, she used it back, which she shouldn't have, but she shouted at her husband about it. That's what made her really, really angry, because she realized her husband was using a very inappropriate word to describe their son, and she wasn't happy about it. And then also questioning her morals about still being with a hateful bigot. Honestly, I've known of people in my life who have stayed in relationships with people where their morals are completely opposed because they are stuck. I think it's always very, very tricky ground to be like, oh, he's homophobic, you don't want to be homophobic, he's being an asshole to your son, leave him. Why are you still with him? Being with him makes you a bad person. And it's like, you don't know why. You don't know her circumstances. She said that she is not financially independent, and that's really tough. Like, what is she supposed to do? So I think maybe I'm having a lot more patience for her than other people would have. I don't know. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, because I really am feeling like she's not an awful person, and preferably she wouldn't stay with a hateful bigot. But if she's stuck in a relationship with a hateful bigot, that's not, like, what is she supposed to do? You know, and if she's unable to financially support herself and there's nowhere she can turn to get financial support, I'm not really sure what her options would be. Maybe there are options and I just don't know about them, but yeah. Not the asshole for standing up to your husband, but it's clear from your wording of this post you don't really have respect for the LGBTQ plus community. I won't praise you for still talking and being in contact with your son, because that's not something that should even be in question. Continue to work to unlearn your bigotry that you've held. Don't use slurs, even if throwing it back in your husband's face. And if you and your husband outside of this have a good relationship and aren't on track for separation, you need to put in the work to help unlearn his bigotry, or you're just enabling him. I hope your son is doing well. OP replied, I've been homophobic for 36 years, and while it's nothing to be proud of, it's still a mindset stuck in my head. I'm trying my best to get rid of it, but it seeps into the writing/wording sometimes. Honestly, am I just having more sympathy for her than I should? I don't know, because what I'm seeing is a mother who was raised in a certain way, married somebody with those views, has been stuck in those views for so long, and the moment that it was on her doorstep, she is really trying to unlearn and be open. And yeah, it should be a bare minimum that you carry on talking to your gay child. It shouldn't even be a question that you don't cut off your LGBTQ plus child. But she's going against everybody in her life by staying in communication with her LGBTQ plus child. I don't think there was a question of if she would stay in contact with her gay son or not. Didn't she literally say when he came out, it doesn't change anything between them? And she's now been cut off by her parents, and it's caused issues within her relationship for her to continue being in contact with her son. Yeah, she shouldn't have thrown the slur back, even in a call out, but, well, no, there is no but. She just shouldn't have done that. There's clearly still unlearning to happen with that, although she does now know it's bad, so hopefully that's not something that would happen again. And if you and your husband outside of this have a good relationship and aren't on track for separation, I don't know, why do I just feel like people are being very harsh to her? I don't know. It's really, it's hard. The consensus in the comments also seems to be not the arsehole, but there does seem to be a lot of judgment over, like, well, you still sound homophobic and
you should leave your husband.
I think it's quite brave to be able to admit, I was raised in this way and I was told that these views are correct. I have since learnt they are not, and I know that a lot of people will be angry towards me for the views that I held and the way I was before, but I don't want to be like that anymore, so I'm trying my best not to. I think that does deserve a go you. I've had to actually watching people unlearn really slowly over a number of years what they've been brought up, and I hold no resentment towards people in my life who I am now very close to and I love, who, you go back 10 years, were really, really transphobic because that's what they had been taught. And I think there's always space for forgiveness for that. I think there are points of no return. There are definitely some celebrities that I can think of who have caused harm more widespread to the trans community, for example, where I don't really see any kind of redemption arc being possible because it's just too much. But on this level, I think you can learn, you can grow, and you can be forgiven. Okay, that's it for that one. Are we ready for the third and the final one for today? Am I the arsehole for telling my daughter she wasn't gay? Yes. This is not your place. Like, I don't need to yes, you were the arsehole. How is it your place to tell anybody else what their sexual orientation is? I will read on regardless. I, a 46-year-old woman, am a lesbian and have been with my wife for 20 years. We have 3 children together, ages 18, 16 and 12. 18-year-old is called Bree. Bree is in college and has recently started dating this girl, Nala. Hold on. This is a lesbian telling her daughter that she's not gay. I'm baffled. They've been together for about 2 months. Nala is a nice girl. I met her once, but Bree has never had any interest in women. Her whole childhood was her obsessing over Justin Bieber or One Direction. Her whole room was filled with posters of them. She knew she could be comfortable coming out if she was. She's made comments to her brother how it feels weird kissing her, and she doesn't know how their mums do it. My wife and I both agree that this was just college experimenting. I know this is a new world, but I also know my daughter. I know this is a new world, but I also know my... Okay, right. I'm so confused by this one. Because I still very firmly maintain it's not your place to tell anybody else their sexual orientation, nor put together breadcrumbs to then tell them they're wrong about what they're saying. You can put 2 and 2 together and be like, that makes a lot of sense what you've told me. But it's not okay to be like,
well, I can think of this, and this that you've said and done in the past would now conclude me to tell you that you are different to what you're telling me you are.
A few days ago, we were on the phone and Bree told me Nala was telling her she should quit her extracurricular and focus on her major. I reminded her that without soccer, she has no scholarship and how she expected to pay for it. Well, of course, Nala has this idea on how to handle it. We go into a pretty heated argument over it. She said something to me like, "You guys don't care about my mental health like Nala does." I snapped and told her, "Stop saying that, you're not even gay." She got upset and called me a mega a-hole and accused me of being homophobic. Even though I'm gay. You can be homophobic even when you're gay. Internalized homophobia, internalized transphobia, all of that stuff, it's very real, significantly less common. I wouldn't say there's homophobia going on here, but there's definitely I'm not sure. I'm really not sure what's going on. Told me she was dropping soccer and hung up the phone. She won't return my calls or texts and she lives 4 hours away on campus. I got a little crazy and looked Nala up on Facebook and texted her asking her to have Bree get back to me, and Nala left me on scene. This upsets me because I never meant to put my input in. She can love who she wants to love. I want her happy, but I do think she's moving extremely too fast into unknown waters. I see the concern as a parent if your child meets somebody new and turns around and says, "I'm changing this up. This new person I've met has advised me I should do this. They've got a plan for how it's all going to work out." And you as a parent are like, "That's a really bad idea." I can see why there would be concern from OP that her daughter's just turned around and said, "I'm going to drop my extracurricular, and that means I'm not going to have a scholarship to pay for college, but don't worry, this person I met 2 months ago has it all figured out." What I'm confused about is why sexual orientation was brought up. It sounds that maybe there's something else going on. Maybe she's struggling with college. I feel like it requires a different conversation of okay, I'm hearing what you feel you want to do, and maybe we can have a chat through what your plan is to make this work, why you're feeling this way, and what's led to this. I would just love to understand where your head is at, and then we can come up with a game plan together for how this could work out. And if it's negatively impacting you and your mental health, then I want to understand. I feel like there's a way to open up a constructive communication about it without bringing it back to some kind of, to me, bizarre feeling that in the heat of the moment, you're snapping and saying, "Stop saying that, you're not even gay," when what your daughter said was, "You guys don't care about my mental health like Nala does." Where is that response relevant to tell her she's not gay? Because mental health isn't just dependent on sexual orientation, and feeling like someone cares about your mental health when maybe you feel like other people don't is also not reliant on sexual orientation. I feel like they're 2 separate issues, and that maybe came out of a place of resentment towards this new person in their daughter's life who they feel like is not having the best influence. But also, why would it matter? Like, why does it matter if your child has never shown any interest in women and had Justin Bieber posters as a child? Equally, you could be like, she plays soccer. A lot of lesbians play it. I mean, it's kind of true, but like, I'm not trying to stereotype here, and I don't think it should work the other way either, where it's like, oh, just because you have boy posters up on your wall as a kid, I don't think you're actually gay. I feel like that is a conversation that should just not have been brought up. It's not a parent's place to say that. And I think maybe she just didn't know. People find out in all different ways at all different ages. Maybe she did think she was straight, and then she's met Nala, and it's like brought upon this epiphany for her about her sexual orientation and the type of people that she's attracted to and who she wants to be with. I think we should be really careful. I just think we shouldn't tell people about their identity. That's for them to know and to tell us. And if you feel like it's not quite right, then let them figure it out, because it's not doing her any harm. Really, what the problem is here is potentially thinking that there's a bad influence, and that doesn't require shouting at your kid that she's not the orientation that she's told you she is, but that requires a conversation of what's going on. How can I help? How could you as a parent show caring about mental health? Because maybe her mental health is bad with college, I don't know, or maybe she's just going through a teenage time as an 18-year-old, figuring herself out and not knowing what she wants to do with her life. So thinking that maybe I don't want to do my extracurricular, maybe I don't want to do soccer anymore. It's really weird to call it soccer because it's football in the UK, but maybe she doesn't want to play sport anymore. I don't know. I just think it needs a talk. I think, yes, I personally would give arsehole badge on this, because surely I feel like it's probable that OP has experienced judgment about their sexual orientation and potentially been called by others as lying or not actually being a lesbian, and people not believing them and saying it's just a phase. And I think regardless of whatever things you think you can piece together to disprove what your daughter's told you, I don't think it's appropriate to tell her that she's not gay if that's who she's told you she is. And it does feel a bit bizarre coming from a parent who's like, they've known they can come out. Maybe she didn't feel ready to. Maybe she didn't figure it out. Just because you've got gay parents doesn't mean you're going to know earlier than other people, or feel like it's automatically a really, really easy thing to say or come to terms with about yourself. That was a really confusing post, and I'm kind of still struggling to make sense of it, which is why I babbled for so long. I'm very sorry if I was repetitive, but let's read some comments. Yep, you're the arsehole. From 140-something lesbian to another, you screwed up. You don't get to gatekeep what being gay means. Thank you. You don't get to define your daughter's sexuality for her. It doesn't matter how open you are at home. It doesn't matter if you are right. Exactly. It doesn't matter if your parents were homophobic assholes who threw you out and you made sure this kid could feel love and accepted every day. It doesn't matter if she's experimenting. It is her journey. I completely agree with all of that. You got to let her go on her journey. Imagine if you were experimenting and claiming a label that felt safe and your mum said to you, but you aren't really straight. Also, she may in fact be gay. She may not. She's 18. She may just be starting to sort out romantic and sexual attraction. And while we're at it, Justin Bieber looks like half the lesbians I banged in college. So his picture in her locker is no proof. His picture in her locker is proof of nothing. That's a funny end to the comment, but I agree with that. It's very right. What does it matter if she is or isn't? This is how she's feeling. This is what she's told you. Who are you to tell her that's not true? And also, what harm does it? There is literally no harm in her experimenting and dating a girl for a bit, even if she's not a lesbian. Why does it matter? I'm sorry, but what? Massively, you're the asshole. Your daughter could be bi or demi, so what? The issue wasn't even about her choice of partner. It was about you invalidating her mental health. You made it about her sexual orientation. Yes. And also very true on it's not just gay or straight, and I feel like a bad bisexual for not picking up on that earlier. Absolutely could have had posters of boys on her wall in childhood because she is also attracted to men. My daughter is gay. I didn't have a flipping clue. She liked boys too, but when she came out as a high school sophomore, I believed her. The high school sophomore. It was never an issue with my husband or me. I can't believe I have to advise a gay parent to accept their daughter's choices. You're the arsehole. Yeah, you're the arsehole. Also, do you know bisexuals exist, right? I know bisexuals exist. I was just very confuddled by there is no excuse. There is no excuse. I did bisexual erasure right there. Oh dear. But yeah, bisexuals exist. This sounds like more of an issue that potentially she's struggling in college and you're not liking a new person in her life. And for some reason, you're making it an issue about her sexual orientation and thinking that because she had a Justin Bieber poster, that means that she's not a lesbian or not attracted to women. Very confusing. Yeah, arsehole. So what did we have? Arsehole, not arsehole, arsehole. What a lovely little arsehole sandwich. Please go leave your comments down below about what you thought of this video. Let me know if you agreed with me or not. It's totally fine if we disagreed. I think that's what these videos are all about. Just like healthy conversation and like looking at things from new perspectives. This is just my opinion based on my life experiences and I would love to hear yours. So yeah, as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Much love. Bye.